I wound up in Michigan for college. So I grew up in Canada, got recruited down to play some college golf. And so when I came down to school in Michigan, that's where I fell in love with college athletics. While in school, I found math and science interesting, and it was easy for me. So I ended up combining, my interest in sports with my interest in science, and tried to figure out a career path, and found or discovered sports medicine. I think it was the love of sports, and that love of sports, I had to find something that I could do for a career, and that's where the medicine piece came in. And I always found science fascinating. So after college, I made the decision to go to medical school, and I actually studied medicine back in Canada, but always with the intent to do sports medicine. And so when I picked a residency program, I picked a residency program that would ultimately lead me towards sports medicine. Ended up in Arizona for 14 years at the University of Arizona, but always knew I wanted to come back this way for family purposes. Ended up at the University of Michigan. It was always on the radar as a top school. Excellent programs, both academically and in athletics. And when the opportunity came open, applied and was fortunate enough to get it. Sure, I think for student athletes, the clinical barriers, they have access to everything, but they don't always know that it's there. And so that sometimes delays their care. Sometimes it's the student athlete's insight. They just don't recognize the problem that they're facing, and so then they don't understand which resources they have available to them to help them solve it. And so that's where, we can come in and help them find their way, link them up to whatever care it is they need, so that they can continue to reach their goals. So a couple different areas. I think improving diagnosis is super important. I mean, those are the challenges we face, is recognizing the injury, so that we can manage it most effectively. And then from there, once we do recognize it, I think advances in treatment are critical, so that we can expedite student athletes' return to play. Sure, I think that study's important for a number of different reasons. So looking back at a student athlete's career, we can discover potential risk factors that are modifiable, that can be applied to current student athletes. So it's only by doing that research that we can identify problems that may not even have surfaced at the time that they were here, but later in life it's coming up, and so then we can take that information and better treat our current student athletes, as well as help those that are struggling down the road. The Concussion Center helps team physicians stay at the cutting edge. So keeping us up to date on what's new, what's coming in the pipeline, so that we can take that information back and better serve our student athletes. I think the Concussion Center is super important for advancing care, advancing research in this area, and athletics offers a potential population to work with and to perform this research. So it really is a two-way street, and I think both groups benefit greatly from that relationship. I think resources are always the barrier. It's an incredibly complex injury, and it's going to take a lot of resources, a lot of time to make advancement. And we are, but we need to continue those efforts, continue to put more resources into it, so that we can further our knowledge in this area. Yeah, so looking back, when I first started, concussion was sort of a relatively new diagnosis, and we were trying to define the injury and recognize it. There wasn't a whole lot in terms of management of it, treatment strategies, return to play, return to learn. And so over the years, the focus has shifted to include those so that we can get better at treatment, so that we can return student athletes to the classroom with less difficulty, support them when they do go back to the classroom, and then make sure that when they do return to play that they're doing so safely.